Okay, so the last one I did was a handheld version. This is the docked version. You can literally see I have two displays here side by side. Granted, this one's 1080p 60. This one's 1440, 144. This one, I think it might be an IPS or VA panel, so the colors are gonna look better on Switch 1. And this one is a TN panel, so the colors aren't gonna look as good. But this one will be a higher resolution than this one, so it's like, you should notice resolution-wise better, but we'll see. So to start off, we're doing Pokemon. I'm gonna try to press these at the same time. For a loading test, 3, 2, 1. I completely missed that. Okay, we're not doing a loading test. This would load faster anyway, in case you need to know. Get these both in shot. This one always displays the logo for longer. And now we got Game Freak. But the in-game load we'll try to do at the same time. Okay. 3, 2, 1. That was at the same time. Let's see what we get here. Immediately, just like 3 seconds on Switch 2. And we're still loading. There we go. This is Switch 1. Okay. So I'm going to try to get in the same area here, but you can already immediately tell the differences. Okay, so these are definitely different times of day, as you can see, but you should be able to tell the difference immediately. So this one has a maximum output of 1080p. It's going to be 30 FPS though. The aliasing on this is, ooh, you can definitely see in motion the frame rate just does not look very good. As you know with Pokemon, textures as well, we zoom in. This really isn't going to change on Switch 2 though, I'll tell you right now. Pumpkins don't look too good. Switch 2, even though it's nighttime, immediately you notice how way smoother this game is in 60 frames. The aliasing, don't notice it at all. I believe it's outputting in 1440p and being upscaled to 4K when on a 4K display. But the pumpkins here, they're rendered, but they don't really look much better. So like I said, textures in the last video don't really look better other than maybe being output at a higher resolution. Main thing you want to notice here is probably frame rate and the resolution of the overall game. But yeah, that's a pretty good comparison shot, I think. Panning the camera, you really notice the frame rate out here, and then panning the camera here, nice and smooth. The poppin' still there, you saw the trainer in front of me. But still looks really nice. Whereas this, I know it's early game so I can't run, but ooh, yeah. I feel like this is easier to tell than it was in handheld mode, but there's your comparison for the Pokemon. Let's move on. Okay, now we're taking a look at Super Mario 3D World. 3, 2, 1. Let's see how this loads. That was so freaking fast. That was faster than the first time I did this. Okay, we're gonna try this again. 3, 2, 1. Into regular 3D world. Even the like splash screen takes a while. Now this game does support HDR. I think Pokemon might have, I'm not 100%. And this obviously does not. But even if you don't have HDR, man, I mean, look how good the colors are on Switch 1 here. And then this monitor, like I said, is not HDR. It's a TN panel, so it just does not look, it actually looks better on my camera than it does in person, but once again, load at the same time here. Try to LNR here. Load into the game once again. This one shouldn't be too long. It's still faster. Okay, now we're gonna load into a level really quickly. We have to jump toward. I forgot to press A again. Not on time. This one looks orange, like I said, it's just the colors. It's a display, not the game. Okay. Get a shot of Plessy here. If you can tell on the camera, this is at 1080p, like in the game too. You can see the aliasing on Luigi's hat, those white little pixels. That's your 1080p, whereas here in 1440p, this game should be native 1440, I believe. Might be upscaling 4K, but yeah, all that aliasing nice and cleaned up. You don't see any pixelation there. That's a pretty good test. Background still is the depth of field. panning shot here. One display is obviously bigger than the other one, but the resolution, like I said, is the difference. Try to get this to move at the same time is very, very hard. But yeah, that's how that looks side by side. 3D World already really looks good. 1080p 60 is always going to be good. And this is just that, but better. Better support for displays and like that. And HDR, because I have a 1440p that is HDR, it's much heavier than this one to lug around, and my TV as well, the Sports HDR10. It does look really good. The HDR, when I was showing in the handheld video, for me, that was a bigger difference than the actual resolution itself. But yeah, you can see like shimmering in the background, minus looking at the display, like in real life. There's like a little bit of shimmering anti-aliasing in the background. Whereas here, that's just not the case because you're at a higher resolution. It cleans that up nice and easily. Gotta jump off the waterfall same time. It's really hard to do this with one hand too, but this is a pretty good way to show differences. So let's move on to Bowser's Fury. Okay, Bowser's Fury load at the same time. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's not the load yet. 3, 2, 1. Real-time loading. You can count the seconds on the video to know for sure. This one, it kind of takes a while to load, at least in handheld mode when I was testing it. I'll leave that video linked in the description. Probably put it in a little card on the top right so you can check out handheld differences. I'm also going to test games that don't have updates. This video is mainly about the updated ones, but I also test 3D World, Mario Wonder, and was the other one 3D All-Stars? Yeah. So, like I said, Super Mario. Yeah, Bowser's Fury takes a little bit to load. This one was more obvious in handheld mode that it was improved, because in handheld it's 30 FPS on Switch 1, whereas here it's just going to be 60 on both of them. However, what is noticeable immediately is the aliasing on this version in the game is worse because it's 720p instead of 1080p. So you're going to see more pixelation on those shadows in the pipe there on Super Saiyan Mario himself. Bowser Jr.? What the heck? I don't even remember that happening. And then on here, 1440p, maybe upscaling. Is the HUD 1080p on Switch 1? I think it is. On here it should be 1440 or higher. But yeah, let's go on the back of Plessy, should be around here. Still a smooth experience, still a good experience on Switch 1, but just made a little bit better, especially in handheld mode, on Switch 2. So take a good look at the background here as it's zooming around. Not noticing any like pixelation. I think the best part of 1440p and outputting to higher displays natively is just like the pixelation is, if it's there, it's way less noticeable. On here, especially 720p blown up on a 4K screen is just not gonna look all that great. It's just kind of how it is. But yeah, so this one is much more noticeable than the base 3D World, like I said, because it's 720p. It's background objects, you see while the camera's moving, the aliasing, how the shimmering, the flickering, like on that water, you can definitely see that when I move. It's like really shaky looking. That's lower resolution, especially on those purple things right there. But yeah, 3D World, once again, Bowser's Fury, better experience on Switch 2. Okay, this time load test in Super Mario Odyssey. This one's more noticeable because it takes a little bit longer to load, as it's more bigger open environments. Now this game has dynamic resolution scaling. It's not a specific locked FPS resolution. And we're gonna see here, this loads already. This one is always kind of a long loader, but it actually loaded pretty fast there. We're gonna resume from the same place. 3, 2, 1. See how it loads here. Yeah, not way faster loading, but definitely noticeable. What's more noticeable is going to be resolution, though. So I'm going to try to move around in New Donk City on Switch 1 first to try to notice a difference, because New Donk City is one of the bigger ones, and the aliasing, like on the fences and stuff like that, is definitely going to be more noticeable. And on all the buildings, just take a look at the shimmering as we move down here. on those windows, the railings especially, because this game runs at a max of 1080p, but it's usually I think around 864p with dynamic resolution scaling. But yeah, as soon as you move, you just notice like shimmering and aliasing and little artifacting like on the building. City Hall there. Still looks really good. Good looking game, always was. But we're gonna switch over to Switch 2 here. Immediately, you're not gonna notice nearly as much shimmering in the background, if at all, but let's see. Should be 1440p as well. Well, it's on a 1440 display, but yeah, see, you see that on the yellow on the back there when I move? That's still doing it, but the railings on the left there, you don't see it at all. Wow, this game, it does look better on Switch 2. This is one of the more noticeable titles. Wait, let me look on Switch 1 again. Good looking game, but a 1440p, well maybe yeah, because it's 864p instead of like a 720 in Bowser's Fury. It's a little more noticeable. The shimmering, like I said, aliasing is still in that building back there, but other than that, the railings and the cars and stuff aren't doing that at all. Zoom in on Mario and his hat. That's just a display if you see like kind of pixely. But I'm trying to see on Mario, yeah, there's a little bit of pixels on the back there. Still not a bad resolution, so it's harder to tell. But it's definitely higher res on Switch 2, so yeah. There's Mario Odyssey. This game also supports HDR, but like I said, I don't have the best display for this. Resolution-wise, it is pretty good. So, next game. Okay, load test, 3, 2, 1. Now, News from Rainbow U is also updated. This is probably the least noticeable, least impact on performance or resolution or anything like that, but it's still there. It's still a little thing worth comparing. So this, like I said, 1440p, this one's 1080p. See how it looks. I mean, it's going to look sharp at 1080p on a 1080p display, especially considering this one is a smaller display than this one. The pixel density is higher. So this might be really hard to tell like any difference at all, but like I said, I'm going to try. News from Rainbows particularly doesn't really matter. Like I said, it's a good looking game. Anything else just makes it look a little bit better. I think the HDR, like I said before, makes definitely a bigger difference. Makes the colors more bright, especially in a more dull New Super Mario Bros. Game. Unlike Super Mario Wonder, it's more like vibrant. This definitely helps when it's in HDR, but we're not here. So let's see if we can notice anything on the menu here. I noticed Luigi. There's a little pixely on the hat there at 1080p. Not that it looks bad, like I said. Look at the pipe and the flowers moving around. It's definitely, the flickering on this one looks so weird. Easier with the capture card, but it also might be harder to get in close with the details of the capture card, so that's why I'm using a phone here. I go on the menu here, look at Luigi. I don't see the pixelation anymore. You know what I notice when it's outputting at a higher resolution is all the edges that are pixely, it just kind of goes away. It looks smooth. It basically smoothes all the sharp edges, because when you have more pixels, that's basically what it's doing. It's just showing more pixels on the screen. So if there's more pixels, they're going to be smaller pixels, less noticeable, especially on a smaller display. Okay, load test on the first level here. Here we go. Oh, just like that on there. Not a long load game, but look at Luigi here. It looks a lot more smooth in actual gameplay, I think, than it did on the home menu there. Luigi looking nice and good in 1440p. Like I said, this is a hard game to kind of tell for this, but we're gonna try. Look at the background trees, perhaps. Looks pretty good on Switch 1. I notice a little bit of like shimmering, flickering on Luigi on Switch 1, whereas on Switch 2, I don't notice it like at all. This is more of a nice little cleanup of New Super Mario Bros. At most. But like I said, HDR, that's the main thing that this game adds, I'm pretty sure. So New Super Mario Bros. For you. The next two games are not going to be direct screen to screen because I don't have two copies of all these games. I don't have two copies of 3D All Stars or Mario Wonder, so I'm going to look at it on Switch 1 and then we're going to quickly look at it on Switch 2. These games aren't upgraded anyway, so I'm not sure if they'll even make a difference, but we're going to see here in a second. Also, something I wanted to know, when you close out of a game on Switch 2, it does it immediately, whereas on Switch 1, it has to do this little screen and then it's closed. So a little bit snappier, but not too big of a deal. So moving on. Okay, so like I said, first, since I only got one copy of this, we're first going to look at the Switch 1 version. I'm going to quickly move over, to the Switch 2. Try to see the difference between that and see what we look like here. Try to keep it as close as possible, same levels and everything like that. Mario Wonder is already a really good looking game. And like I said, I keep repeating this, but HDR really does make a difference in these games. And I mean, it is, there's a setting on the Switch 2 where it's like auto HDR. So even if the game is like this gun, I don't know if it's natively supported. It did get updated, but I don't know if it's actually adding that. But it should look better on that display, already a more vibrant game. But yeah, so this one's a full 1080p, 60 FPS on Switch 1. So it's going to look pretty good. Let's see if we can notice anything here. Looking at Luigi in motion. Maybe like I said on New Super Mario Bros. This game's gonna be hard to tell. It just looks beautiful on Switch 1. For a Switch 1 game, it just looks great. Background elements maybe. Not really noticing much of anything. I'm looking for anything. The Goombas maybe. Like I said, maybe a little bit of alias and shimmering because it's 1080p instead of 1440, but you really have to zoom in and look for this stuff. You're not going to be this close to your TV, so let's look at the Switch 2 version. Okay, immediately this is probably going to load faster, which is always nice. Go and jump in here. Load the same level, same character. Like I said, this game, it got an update. I don't know what the update did, if anything. But the fact that it got an update at all, it said to support Switch 2 or whatever. Maybe it's just a compatibility thing. I don't know. But I couldn't find anything when I was looking at it in handheld mode. So I don't know. We'll see. So you see here loading in. Maybe faster load times, perhaps. That would make a difference. It's probably gonna look worse on this display because it's not good colors. But yeah, Luigi looks like he's still in 1080p. I know it's really hard to see on here. Already a good looking game. So if you're looking at this on TV, it's not going to look much different, if at all. But yeah, the Goombas, looking on the 1440 display, it's actually easier to notice that they're lower. Because you see the pixelation more, lack of aliasing. So yeah, definitely pretty much exactly the same. If not, no, actually exactly the same. Maybe in handheld mode, it should run a little bit, but nah, it's scaling up. I don't know. Anyway, moving on, 3D All-Stars. Okay, like I said, this game also got updated. Oops. When you transfer your save data and one's not uploaded to cloud and the other one is, it's going to say an error, but you can still launch the game and it's totally fine. Okay, so Mario 64 is 720p 30, Sunshine is 1080 30, and Galaxy is 1080 60. So we're going to look at Galaxy, maybe look at Sunshine. Those are easier to tell differences between 1080p and 1440p on the display, but we shall see. Already, like I said, when games are 1080 60 on a Switch 1, I mean, they just look good. They're not going to look bad, basically, no matter what you do. Definitely 1080p. You can see the pixels on the top of Yoshi's eye on this screen here. But it looks nice and smooth in motion since it's at 60 frames. Main hub. Luigi looks nice and colorful. I like how I'm Luigi in all these games where it's a Mario game. Yeah, Toad, you can definitely notice the pixels on there. It's a very, like, raw pixel game at 1080p. But, man, this game aged so well. This is from 2007. Look how good it looks, man. Oh my gosh, okay. Let's look at the Switch 2 really quickly here. Load it up. It might, like I said, maybe just loading HDR output. That's the most these games would probably get. I feel like Mario 64 most desperately needs a like at least 1080p. That would go a long way, and then Sunshine being 60 would be nice. Maybe they re-release 3D All-Stars, add Galaxy 2. It's all 1440p, 60. That'd be, and widescreen for the first. Mario 64 is not even in widescreen. Okay, immediately going to the screen again here. Yoshi 1080p. Yep, you see the pixels. Looks exactly the same. It would look a lot smoother if it was running native 1440. So, still a really good looking game no matter what you play it on. But yeah, definitely not improved resolution wise at all. I have an eye for these things, so if I don't notice a difference on something, and I do notice a difference on something, I'll be the first to let you know and see. Like I said, still a good looking game no matter what you played on, 1 or 2, but yeah, overall this was just a fun little video trying to compare stuff, see if there was any differences even on the non-listed as upgraded. Just had a like random update. I don't know what it did. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this docked mode. I'll link the handheld mode if you haven't seen that one in the description. That was like my first reactions to stuff, so it was pretty raw. But yeah, let me know what you think, and say subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. See you in the next one.